This is Saudi Arabia, the 13th largest country in the world by area, with a population of around 40 million people. These 40 million people live in such a unique pattern that cannot be observed anywhere else in the world. 80% of Saudi Arabia's population resides in these two colored lines. On one side, there is this blue colored line that covers the entire western coastline of Saudi Arabia right next to the Red Sea. On the other side, there is this yellow line that starts from the Persian Gulf and cuts through the center of Saudi Arabia to touch the western coastline. Now, except for these two colored areas, nearly all of Saudi Arabia is completely empty. In fact, people have only settled in this yellow line in the past few years, which means that for thousands of years, 90% of Saudi Arabia has remained entirely uninhabited. What is the reason behind this weird population pattern of Saudi Arabia? Let's find out the answer to this question in this video. To understand this whole situation, we need to understand Saudi Arabia's history and geography. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia's geography. Saudi Arabia's area is massive, so massive that most of European countries could fit inside it. And despite having a population of 40 million, most of Saudi Arabia remains completely empty. And even this 40 million figure was added to Saudi Arabia's population just a few years ago. If we look at the data, in the 1970s, Saudi Arabia's population was 6.1 million, and today in 2023 it has reached nearly 40 million. This means that in the last 50 years, approximately 32.5 million people have been added to Saudi Arabia's population. What exactly happened in these 50 years, and why was Saudi Arabia's population so low before 1970? The biggest reason for this is Saudi Arabia's harsh geography. If you look at the map of Saudi Arabia, you will see large deserts everywhere. On the northern side, at the border with Jordan and Iraq, there is the Al Nafad Desert. Similarly, on Saudi Arabia's southern side, there is a very large and dangerous desert which is called the Empty Quarter. If you look at Saudi Arabia on Google Maps, you will understand why this area is called the Empty Quarter. In this entire area, you will not see any roads, railways, houses, or any other settlement. The main reason is that this desert experiences such dangerous sandstorms that are not witnessed anywhere else on our planet. In summers, the temperature here reaches up to 55 degrees Celsius, while in winter, it drops to -7 degrees. Due to this desert, trade has always been very difficult in central, northern, and southern Arabia, even though these countries are neighbors and share borders with each other. Even if you look at Oman, it appears completely trapped, like there is the sea ahead and the dangerous desert behind. Before the 20th century, no one even thought of crossing this desert. In 1931, for the first time, a British explorer, Mark Evans, crossed this desert in 60 days with some local Arabs. And then in 2018, for the first time, a highway was built here that connects Oman to Saudi Arabia. Before this, if you had to travel from Saudi Arabia to Oman without air travel, you had to drive for 18 hours through the UAE. So, this desert is one reason for Saudi Arabia's harsh geography. Secondly, Saudi Arabia is the largest country in the world without a single permanent river. And it's not just Saudi Arabia. There are no rivers also in Yemen, Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait. The most rainfall that occurs in this region is along the western coastline of Saudi Arabia and Yemen. And this is why Yemen's population is much higher than that of Oman, UAE, and other Gulf countries. Due to this population pattern, the Yemen civil war has had the most impact on Saudi Arabia because there is the Rub al-Khali Desert between Oman and Yemen, whereas Saudi Arabia's most populated areas are right next to Yemen's most populated cities. Now, an interesting thing here is that all of Saudi Arabia's major cities like Mecca, Medina, Jeddah, Riyadh, and Dammam are located outside of this high population circle. The location of Mecca, Medina, and Jeddah has historic strategic reasons behind it. If you look at Jeddah and Mecca, both are quite close to each other and are at an equal distance from the Mediterranean Sea, Gulf of Aden, Persian Gulf, and the Empty Quarter. This strategic location meant that for thousands of years, it was almost impossible for trade caravans coming from India, Iran, East Africa, and Egypt to avoid these two cities. Because before the construction of steamships and the Suez Canal, all land and sea trade from Egypt to India took this route, passing through Mecca, Medina, and Jeddah, which is why these three cities became the economic focal points of the Arab world. Now, if we zoom in a bit on the map, You can see that to the north of Mecca, there is a mountainous area named as Taif. Taif is a beautiful hill station. In ancient times, wealthy people of the Quraysh tribe used to spend their summers here. But beyond Taif to the Persian Gulf, you will see flat deserts. To mark this entire area, we use yellow highlight. In this entire area, there is hardly any rainfall, and this is why for thousands of years, this entire area remained completely empty except for some areas around Riyadh where some Arab Bedouins lived, and it remained like this until the early 20th century. In early 1900, Saudi Arabia's population was 2.5 million, and 99% of this population lived in this blue line along Saudi Arabia's western coastline. But then in the next 30 years, some changes occurred that shifted this population pattern, and this yellow line came into existence when in 1932, the Al Saud family of Riyadh took control of Saudi Arabia and declared Riyadh as the capital of Saudi Arabia. Now, this wasn't just because the Al Saud family was from Riyadh, but also because they had no other option. They couldn't make Mecca or Medina the capital because non-Muslims are not allowed there, and since foreign delegates, ambassadors, and heads of states have to visit the capital, it would be very difficult for Saudi Arabia to maintain international diplomatic relations. So, Riyadh was made the capital, and then in 1938, large oil reserves were discovered near Riyadh, which changed the fate of Saudi Arabia. By the 1970s, Saudi Arabia was supplying 15% of the world's oil. Billions of dollars were coming in, and new cities were being established around these oil fields. The city of Dammam, located on Saudi Arabia's eastern coastline, which had only a few hundred residents before the 1920s, had become the hub of the oil industry. Today, Dammam is a state-of-the-art metropolitan city with a population of 2 million, and all this transformation happened in the last 40 to 50 years. After the 1970s, money started pouring into Saudi Arabia like water. Saudi Arabia was becoming the world's largest welfare state, where no citizen had to pay any taxes, and everything from education to water, electricity, food, petrol, and even houses were the responsibility of the government. The Saudi government had a lot of money, and since the population was small, they were spending generously on their people. But there was a problem. The growing economy created demand for jobs, but Saudi nationals were getting so many facilities that they were not interested in working, and so to fill this gap, thousands of Muslim workers from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Indonesia, and Egypt were given visas and brought to Saudi Arabia to work in the construction, transportation, and service industries. In the next 30 years, Saudi Arabia's economy and population literally exploded. Riyadh and Jeddah transformed from slums and broken roads into metropolitan cities where a total of 150 million people now live. Today, 85% of Saudi Arabia's population lives in cities, and this is the reason behind Saudi Arabia's weird population pattern, where the majority of the population lives in this natural blue line and an artificially created yellow line pattern. But this population pattern is now creating significant problems for Saudi Arabia. Remember, the cities in this yellow line were established just 30 to 40 years ago by spending billions of dollars, and their biggest issue is water because there is hardly any rainfall here. To solve this problem, in the 1980s, Saudi Aramco started searching for underground water in this entire area, and they found it. The Saudi government built artificial aquifers on these water reserves, but the problem was that due to the lack of rainfall and high consumption, these large wells started drying up. Additionally, only 0.5% of the land in Saudi Arabia is arable, meaning suitable for cultivation, while the remaining 99.5% of the land cannot be cultivated, which is why most food in Saudi Arabia is imported. Although the Saudi government provided heavy subsidies and artificial water supply to farmers to create artificial farmlands so that Saudi Arabia wouldn't have to import food, this was not sustainable because all this water was coming from artificially created aquifers, and as a result, by 2010, 80% of the water in these aquifers had been depleted, and scientists have predicted that by 2030, Saudi Arabia's entire water supply would be completely exhausted. After this, the Saudi government stopped this project and banned the cultivation of water-intensive crops like rice. To solve this water problem, the Saudi government has also now installed desalination plants along the Persian Gulf, where seawater is purifying and delivered to Riyadh, Dammam, and other cities. Similarly, 12 desalination plants have been installed along the western coastline to provide clean water to the cities near this entire coastline. No doubt, this is an unbelievable achievement, but it is heavily dependent on Saudi Saudi Arabia's oil revenues because running these desalination plants requires a lot of money. This is why King Mohammed bin Salman is now rapidly trying to diversify Saudi Arabia's economy away from oil so that the country's dependence on oil can end, because the world is moving towards electric transportation. And as soon as this is achieved, it will create significant problems for oil-producing countries. But in this entire video, there is also a lesson for us that if leadership is sincere, even a desert can be turned into a garden. The way Saudi Arabia's leaders have transformed Riyadh and other cities and provided their people with amenities is unbelievable. These are all the sources we consulted for this video. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel because we need your support. See you in the next video with another interesting topic.